ago, I think I might have been a little starstruck because I wanted to work with him so badly. I was a little bit like trying to kind of be cool, and I wasn't cool. I was anxious and I ended up eating the food off of his plate, which is insane. And all of a sudden I realized what I was doing. I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, it's okay. It's fine. He was very nice.
Wait, okay, so like he calls you, let's meet, I think I want you in this movie. You guys go out to like dinner or lunch.
No.
Oh.
Are you kidding me? No. I've always wanted to be in a Woody Allen film, always. As an actor, that's like, especially a New York actor, you're like, that's like one of the bucket lists. You're like, oh my God, I just want to be in a Woody Allen film. And so I was always, anyone who worked with him or, whatever, I was always like, you should tell him I really would be good in his film. I just knew instinctively that it would be really, we'd be a good fit. And my neighbor, when I lived in LA I still had a place there. I can't remember how many years ago. I don't know, 15 years ago or 20. I'm terrible with time, but over 10 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't know. Was when I had anyway. And so I was hiking, and then my friend who was his agent, he was like, all of a sudden there was cars everywhere. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, you should change. And, I'm having a party. You should come over. There's lots of directors and people like that. And I was so hungry. I'm like, do you have food? And he's like, yes. I said, great. So I changed quickly. I was starving. I was like, and I'm one of those people when I get hungry, if I don't eat, I'm going to fall down. And so I walked into the house and I was like, oh my God, everyone, so many people were there. Right. I was like, ding, ding. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get food. And then all of a sudden, of course, I see Woody. And I said to John, who's his agent, I said, you have to introduce me to him. Like, why aren't I in his film? Like, you need to make this happen. Anyway, he introduced us and Woody had a plate of food. And I remember just talking to him, trying to be normal. And without realizing it, I guess I just started eating the food off of his plate that he was holding, but I didn't realize what I was doing. And as soon as I'm putting a carrot, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was mortified. I was like, oh my God. And he's like, oh, no, please, here, have some food. Couldn't have been nicer. And then years later, then 2 years ago, whenever it was, when he was looking for, he was casting this. I was a small part, and I got a note. Our mutual friend said, listen, I think he's embarrassed to ask you if you wanted this part because it's so small. I said, no, I'll do it. I said, I'll do it. I'll end up being the lead. I know it. And my manager's like, you're going to go up there and meet him for like this teeny thing. I'm like, yep. And I went, I talked. Everyone says, don't talk to Woody because he's a very shy guy. He's very polite and very shy. And it's his, classic meetings of 2 minutes. Basically, he looks to make sure you don't look insane, I guess. And he says, do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. I'll see you there. And then I just started talking. And I got him to start laughing. I was talking about some movie and I left. And then the next thing I know, they called up. Oh, my power's about to die. Shit. Can you see me?
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, they said, he wants you to be the lead. I said, yeah, great. And my manager at the time was like, how did you know that? I said, I just knew. Sometimes you have to go by your gut. So that's how that happened. And it was great. I love working with him.
What was it? What can people expect from this movie, Rifkin's Festival? People who aren't aware.
It's cute. It's very sweet and it's very Woody Allen-esque, there's some classic moments of his films that you're like, oh wait, I know this sort of moment, which, I mean, to me, when I was reading the script, I was so happy to be able, I was like, oh my God. It was like, to me, when I did Face Off, like John Woo, and I was in the John Woo moment, like with the face up with the guns. There was moments like that. And here I'm like, oh my God, this is like a classic Woody Allen moment that I get to do. So I was very excited. It's a sweet film. I like it.
Well, Woody likes to work with a lot of the same actors and actresses over and over. So maybe this is the start of a beautiful.
I hope so. I hope people let him make movies here in America. It's all so sad to me, but we'll see. I would work with him again in a second. It was a very, very, very pleasant experience.
I mean,
it was great.
You did. I mean, did you get a lot of that like type of pushback? Because, listen, this crazy world we live in, I'm the type, like, I personally separate business and whatever. Like, did you get a lot of like,
Mhm.
oh my God, how can you be in a Woody Allen movie based on
No,
all this?
it was the same thing as, not the same, that's a dumb analogy. But as I was telling you before with the Showgirls, when people were like, I really like this movie. I'm like, well, why don't you just say it? I swear to God, I'd say about 85, maybe even 90% of the people were like, we think he's innocent. It's really terrible what's happening. I'm like, yeah, well, so then why don't you just say it? Everyone's so, it's a scary time we're living in. And to me, it's just, I mean, on so many levels, but I just think it's a shame that people can't, like, I mean, I'm not even allowed to talk about it because everyone's like, be careful, you're going to get canceled for saying the wrong thing. And it's like, wait, where are we living? I mean, look at, we're fighting these poor people in Ukraine and fighting against, just fighting for their freedom. And I'm telling you, if we're not careful, that's where we're headed, on so many levels. And too many people, it's a shame that we can't, that's, we have a trial by mob situation here. And there's a lot of people who should be working who aren't. There's definitely a lot of people who have gotten what that's coming to them, and guess what? That's what supposedly the legal system's for. You go, but I don't know. It just seems to me if you've gotten a case thrown out of court a couple of times, and who's to, just because page 6 or a couple people say, oh, you're guilty, or like, get rid of this person. You know what? I just think it's terrible. I really do.
I was going to say people love a mob mentality. That's kind of what it's come. I agree with you. And I think it's really dangerous where we're headed, that
It's
people can't.
very dangerous. I just feel like, listen, I think everyone's entitled to their opinion, and if you don't want to watch a certain movie because an actor's in it, or you don't want to listen to some music because you think that person's a bad person, don't buy the album. Don't listen to the music. Don't go to the art show. Don't see the movie, right? Just make that decision. Say, oh, I don't like that person's politics, so I'm not going to watch, or whatever. There's something about that person I don't like. I don't want to support them as an actor or as an artist. Fine.
I agree.
I'm like you, I separate a lot of that stuff. But I just think we're living in a very weird time. I understand why it's had to go this way. There's been a lot that's wrong. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's good that a lot of things are hopefully balancing out, but we've gone way too far. And I just think I think it's a shame. The mob mentality thing has to go, because most of those people are hypocrites and they're all staying behind their hand. I think he's innocent. I think, she didn't do this or whatever. I just wish people would speak up their own truth and stand by it
100%.
instead of getting canceled, or whatever. The cancel thing is just ridiculous.
I'm not a fan of it. And then people slip into your DMs from anonymous accounts and they're like, I really love that guest of yours, David. I'm like, I say the same thing you say. I say, why don't you make a public comment? Like, like you're afraid. We'll wrap up very quickly, but we can't wrap up without talking about Donatella Versace and this amazing performance, Gina. I mean, come on. This is like, what was that like? Did you work with Donatella to create, like, was she involved?
I've never met Donatella. I've never met her. I can't believe it. I've never met her.
Wow. I mean, what that just was
there was
like.
There was enough videos, and there was enough. I knew a lot of people who know her, and I talked to a lot of people. Listen, I have so much respect for her and what she's gone through, and she's a really pretty impressive woman to me. Was it fun playing her? I mean, we took a very specific moment of her life that wasn't the most pleasant moments of her life. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it was fun to play her. There was a lot of pain that, that I think she went through, and with the loss of her brother and all of that. She hasn't had it easy at moments. And then, so it was, like I said, some of it was like, the idea of it was fun, but it was tough. She was tough to play.
It was so spot on. Did you ever, did she ever, I mean, this might be out there. Did she ever comment? She never reached out to you, sent a message through her reps?
I heard through a couple people who were very close to her that, that I kept saying, did she see it? But those people who knew her well, they were like, oh my God, it was spot on. I never heard anything from her directly. So I don't know if she watched it or not, you know. But certain people who I really respected were quite close. They gave me the thumbs up. So I was happy about that. You know, it's hard when you're playing someone who's still living and you're just trying to get their story across, you know. It's too easy to just do a caricature of someone. She's like a living, breathing, really impressive, intense woman who's been through a lot. So I just wanted to really respect that and honor it, and I don't know, try to do the best job I could.
It was so spot on. Like, it was just like, oh my God, like what am I watching here?
Thank you.
Two quick things before we go. Riverdale, love you in Riverdale. Jughead's mom,
Yeah.
shout out. And just with all this, you know, these reboots that are happening these days, if they were ever going to reboot Showgirls, could you see like, and like, listen, there's crazy.
Oh God, I hope they don't ever do that. I don't think they could do that.
You don't think so?
Why would they want to do that?
I don't know. When you look at the things that are talked about in reboots, I see Showgirls coming up a lot.
Really?
I don't know how it would be done. I was going to ask you if there are any actresses like, you know, of that